Hey, it's Michael Lindsay with Vital MX, and I'm here with the voice of Supercross and the voice of Motocross. Starting with you, Daniel, how nice is it going to be this year to not have to tell your buddies where to find Supercross and Motocross on TV?
Your shoes untied.
At Vital, we strive for excellence. Only the best for you, sir.
I feel it's a little unprofessional to be here at this event wearing a red T-shirt, shoes untied, scruffy hair and beard. Just saying, that's all.
This is stepping up by Michael Lindsay standards. He doesn't even have a hat on. This is stepping up.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
So this is actually an improvement.
It is. It's a drastic improvement. We are all about improving our quality at Vital MX, just for your information.
You got a ways to go.
They had a guy cut his hair, and then they hired him.
Cut my hair. I actually have a guy shooting the video today. It's not just sitting on a table.
Okay.
I'm not shooting with a force behind me, somebody's back porch. So the sport is improving. I am improving.
Whole sport's stepping up. Yep.
The whole sport is stepping up. And speaking of that again,
Okay,
the real question. We don't have to tell our friends anymore where they're going to find the races.
Yeah, this is so big. Part of today's message, obviously, is the unity between Supercross and Motocross and this creation in this playoff. But the best part for me is the consistency for the fans. They know where to watch it now. And, you know, it's hard sometimes to answer when a family member or a friend is like, hey, where is it? When's it on? What about this week? No, now it's got a home, and it's going to be on that home for a long time. So I think that's huge for the fans, that consistency. It just allows people to be able to plan ahead of time and not have to wonder at the last minute. And I think for many reasons, a lot of the things we heard today are huge, but for me, that might be the biggest one.
Definitely the unity. And Weege, you will not hopefully get angry tweets anymore about a stream that you had nothing to do with come pro motocross.
I mean, they were pretty easy on me for considering it. I mean, the guys at MAV TV, I know them well. They go way, way back to like the earliest days of cable TV and having motocross on television. Like, they wanted it to work so bad. I don't know why it did not work consistently. I think like the last round they finally had it dialed. But still, it makes sense to just be under one bracket. It's under Peacock. And the craziest part about it is when Peacock was finally able to have this sport sold to them as one sport instead of two separate series, and they're like, hey, even better if you could throw a playoff in at the end. I mean, that's what really gets the TV execs excited. That's what leads them to do long-term deals, to spend more money, and then that money goes back to the athletes. It's a better deal all around, really, to have, honestly, what should have been the case all along. The two series acting like one sport. We always call it the sport, don't we? Now it actually is the sport.
The sport.
Yes,
the sport.
Yep.
Our sport.
Yes, our sport, yes.
No more summer series. When you're in the box, we can talk about motocross. Motocross can talk about Supercross freely. We're all in this together.
Yeah, and what I've noticed, and you've talked to a lot of people about this as well, Michael, is the people that are most excited are the teams. They don't agree on anything. They probably hated you when you ran your own team.
Probably.
Yeah. Suddenly they're all in. Like, Roger DeCoster's quote is, it's the biggest news in the history of the sport. Yeah. They're so stoked. It involves a lot of organization on the amateur side with Loretta's, Moto Scouting Combines, and Supercross Futures. So the teams are like, we now know that the sport is stability going forward. You're going to sell motorcycles to up-and-coming riders. So the teams are even more pumped than anyone I've met throughout this process.
And then for you, Daniel, I know you're a big stick and ball sports guy. Playoff system, being able to talk about that during the racing, do you think that's actually going to come up a lot on the broadcast? You guys discussing what the points are total as we get to the playoffs. Do you think that'll actually be a storyline that you guys talk about on the booth?
Yeah, I think so, because it's part of the education process. 5 years from now, we won't be talking about how this all works. Everyone will know. It's the same with Triple Crowns. That first year, it was like, wait, how does this work? Everyone... They figured it out as we went along. So I would imagine, Weege, year one, there'll be a lot of explaining and hyping up the grand finale of this thing. But I do think it's massive for the reason you said, the playoff. I'm going to say something now that I have a really hard time saying because it hurts and stings and makes me actually mad and angry and want to flip one of these chairs. But the New York Giants, I hate them with all of my heart. But whatever year it was, the Patriots went 16-0 in the regular season. They were incredible. They were unbeatable, and the Giants just snuck into the playoffs. And they got hot at the right time and won the Super Bowl. And I think that our television package mixed with the format change now creates those stories where we didn't have that before. And I've always felt like it's hard to put a lot of hype into the final round of a championship when so many times it's already over by then. And I do like that Supercross and Motocross will get to continue their tradition and we don't ruin that, the stats, the history. But to add this playoff format and be able to hype it up all year long so that a number 10 to 12 guys could come in and get hot on those three races, and we get to see that clutch gene and who could be at their very best in those final moments. I mean, that's massive, especially on the stick and ball side. So for us to have that now without ruining what we already have, I just feel like they nailed it. Now we get the best of both worlds. So to me, it's pretty much perfect.
For you, Weege, kind of off the back of what he said, just the fact that we're not ruining our standard championships the way you guys get to talk about them, the way we get to bring them to the fans. I think at NASCAR, like NASCAR's playoff system, I think is still, for an old school fan, a little bit controversial because some people feel like it takes away from the guy that's consistent all year. Here, right, we're still going to have both championships. You guys get to announce each one through. We get to talk about them. We get to publicize, celebrate the guys that win that. But we have this afterwards, and it's additional, but it doesn't really seem like it's going to mess with anything we know and love.
Yeah, and if you don't like the playoffs, they're paying the riders a ton of money. So everybody at Vital, who is always complaining that the poor riders aren't being paid enough money, there was $5.5 million just being paid out of those 3 races alone, both in the final series standings money and individual races. It does pay all the way back to 30, so privateers are going to make money as well. Something like $25,000 to even a decent position.
I think
per
20.
night.
I think per blind. I think 20th in the 450 championship is $25,000.
Yes.
The winner is $1 million.
So your borderline main event bubble type privateer guy, if he gets 20th in that final 3 races, makes $25,000. So that's exciting. So if you don't like it, at least the riders are getting paid. And the other thing is we avoid. Look, we all know that if someone gets hurt at round 1 and they can't get to round 1, it's done. Their season is over. And you hope then they're ready for outdoors if they don't get back in time for the Supercross opener. But that's it. If you blow round 1, what is the phrase? You can't win the title of round 1, but you can lose it. Yeah. We have something else, a reason for a guy to come back, race the last couple rounds to get in shape, help his seeding, and instead of just see you next year, guys.
Well, most interesting, I'll ask both of you guys your opinion on this. What do you think the chances are that the guy that wins Super Motocross doesn't win either of the normal championships each year? Do you think, I think of Jason Anderson this year. Eli won both titles. I think Jason would have an extremely high chance as a clutch performance.
Chase Sexton would be the same. I didn't win either. I think that's great too because it adds that layer of more possibilities for a guy to be big in those moments and win the whole thing. And the coolest part too is the stats. We don't have stats for this yet. Someday we're going to be that's the first guy to win all 3 playoffs and win it. It might be the first year. I mean, Villapoto's not racing, so they might be safe. But then there's going to be that story of who is the guy who came in the lowest seed. He came in 12th. Yeah. But won it. There's so much new history to be created with this format, and I'm a stat guy. I love stats. It's like a clean slate for this format. So now we get to start all over and create all these new stats and storylines that are going to make the sport that much cooler in a time of the year when usually we're kind of all checking out.
I got one crazy stat for you then. Somebody does the first 4 rounds of Supercross, wins, so they get in on the LCQ thing, do a knee, out the entire Supercross season, outdoors, but could come back and actually be competitive in that.
That's why the point structure is built the way it is to accelerate the pressure and intensity as you get to the final. So you could come in 15th overall, whatever. The points allow you to win out and get it. You could be like Adam Cincerella. Weege talked to him today. Terrible year for him, but guess what? In this format now, if he's healthy and he shows up at the first round of the playoffs, that guy has the speed and the skill to go and win. Boom, 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 and win this thing. And to have that possible, it gives riders a reason to stay invested, stay involved, get back sooner, because there's still a chance at the very end that in 3 really quick weeks, they could be a Super Motocross World Champion. And that's, like I said, they nailed it.
I would ask Weege if he's safe for the box next year. I know you're doing all 11 rounds outdoors. Daniel, are you in the box? Do we know yet?
We do not know anything at this point. What we know is that today was a very special day. You're unprofessional, and I love working with Weege, so we'll leave it at that.
I'm waiting for the Voices of Super Motocross podcast, the 2 of you to just do one together.
There might be some stuff coming, as a matter of fact. There really actually might be. That might be the only downside of this program is that Daniel and I have to work together a lot more now. That might be the only downside.
Oh, downside.
Yeah, downside. We're going to make a debut together, actually, real soon here. Yep, go ahead. Yep, Red Bull Straight Rhythm, bro. We're in the booth together. Yep.
I feel like that's just telling the future.
It's like peanut butter and chocolate. These 2 things were meant to go together. Let's get this done.
Let's get it done.
At the end of the day, it all comes out the same. What?
True.
Just trying to be factual.
You are very factual, Daniel. Well, thank you guys very much for giving the fans the real information, the vital information they need to know about the TV series, the booth, and even some other wonderful facts of life.
The vital information.
I'm all about vital. Vital, baby. Vital MX.
Love the message board.
Love the message board.
Yeah.